This is an experiment. I've never talked to myself. It's like in a soundproof booth. It's going to be quite interesting not being able to hear who's doing what when. So we've all been told to behave and not say anything rude that we don't want you to hear, because I don't know what you can hear and what you can't hear. So first of all, I would like to ask my panelists this afternoon, this is our Garment Tech Time session, just to introduce themselves briefly. And I'll start with the nice lady on my left, whose name I can't pronounce, so she can pronounce it better than I can. Behave.
Okay, ladies first, no? Okay, my name is Encarna. I work in Roland Nvidia, more or less almost 4 years. I am working in this company. My experience in digital printing is almost 26 years working on digital printing, from really a small one to the biggest machine in the market. Then I think this is nice when you can, for me, I can compare what is happening in different markets, different kinds of application, for the small one to the biggest one. Okay. Now I am also involved inside Roland in the textile business, try to develop new products and putting new applications in the market.
And now you two can share a microphone. So Oliver, you can introduce yourself next, if anybody doesn't know who Oliver is.
My name is Oliver. I'm a marketing manager for Cornet Digital Europe. My experience, well, I have a degree in printing technology. I have a technical background, dealt with color management, color profiling in the end of the 90s. And then something went wrong and I ended up in marketing.
I heard that. Neil. I can't pronounce Neil's surname anyway, so this is good that we're missing out the surnames.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Neil Greenhalgh. I'm a product manager for Production LFP for Epson Europe. Production LFP covers our full range of printers from signage, textiles, and direct-to-garment. I've been in the printing industry 30 years, working for various companies before turning to product management. My background is expert in colour and profiling.
And nobody needs to know who I am, because I think if you don't know by now, you never will know. If we move on to the first question, this is really odd because you can hear us, yeah? I'm going to rely on Terence to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down, okay? Obviously, direct-to-garment is a sector that we've seen grow in the past 10 years. Would that sound about right? It's become quite sophisticated. We're now seeing it very much as a part of the FESPA model when we come to these shows. The first question that I'd like to ask, and I'm not following a strict format with the questions at all today, is, you know, what can direct-to-garment bring to an existing digital business? Why would somebody want to adopt direct-to-garment rather than, say, just dye-sub or whatever other digital process there is? Who would like to answer the question first?
Neil, please.
Neil, this one's for you.
Okay. So thank you. The main thing about direct-to-garment is personalisation. How easy it's become, how quick you can do, how unique you can make products. So rather than have a mass-produced thing, which people use for example, T-shirts and that sort of thing, the introduction of quick turnaround personalisation merchandise, whether it just be T-shirts or moving on to anything, has made it, in the last 10 years, the technology, the inks, and how quick the systems have become, has made it really easy to do personalised products and individual products.
What about the software side? Or we could do that in a minute.
Development of software. As you know, as at Epson, we primarily make printers. We have a range of independent software companies all willing to work with us, unlike the guys here. Everybody, the developments of software, taking any image, any PDF, any file, and turn it to digitalize it to get it onto whatever medium you have, fabric, T-shirts, things like that.
Okay, let's move to Encarna next, because you're kind of... Oh,
Okay.
now this has got confusing.
Then we can talk each other. Okay, Sophie. The same question?
Yeah, the same question.
Okay, I am fully agree with Neil. In terms of the personalization is maybe one of the key to grow up really fast in the garment of another kind of application related with textile. But also is the capability when we are offering machines, we can offer to the customer the capability to imagine new things. When you are working with traditional system, like your mind is more blocked. You need to think inside the rules. The old system allow you to do new things. When you start to work on digital and direct printing or maybe transfer, combining both, we know what is the power of the software, of the designing, and then the only limitation is on the head of the designer. Because technically every day limitation is reducing, no limits. Then for me this is important. Of course, the concept of personalization, the turnaround, you invest low quantity of money, very fast you can have your own revenue, new expectation. But the key for me is we are open. With all the new technology, we are open the mind of the new designer. And this is for me one of the key for the future. It doesn't matter if the technology is this technology, this one or this one. Each one will choose what they need. But we are open the mind. It's easier.
Now, Oliver has a slightly different direction on this, but it's related, but you're looking at it, Kornit is obviously has a different type of business model in a way.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I assume that at least some of you guys are digital printers today. That means if you are trying to engage in direct-to-garment printing, 50% of the knowledge that you need is already there. So let's say the file preparation, color management, basic workflow considerations. You know all of that, so the 50% that's left is mastering garment as a new and exciting substrate to print on. Once you do that, I think it's fair to say that in direct-to-garment printing, more than in any other segment, there is a direct proportion between your creativity and innovation and the margin that you can make. So in the presentation that I just gave before this panel, I showed a number of different designs and how customers differentiate from each other. Customers that can charge a mere 40 cents for a print, or customers that can change $400 for a beautiful dress. So I think garments are, let's say, an expression of personal flavor, personal style, and people are willing to spend money on that. So if you're doing it right, I think it's quite an attractive source of profits and revenue.
So if we move on to the next thing I'd like to ask around this same topic is, okay, I'm a digital print company and I'd like to go into direct-to-garment. How difficult is it to adapt my existing digital print knowledge to be able to print t-shirts or apparel? How different is the workflow? How different is the process? And it obviously depends on ink and pre-treatment, post-treatment, whatever. How easy would it be for me to say, okay, I'm going to buy a direct-to-garment printer. What do I do now? Who wants to go first? Encarna?
Okay, no problem. I think the first thing is to teach the potential customer about the different tools he will need in order to print directly to the garment. Textile is a huge wall. It's similar to the current signage wall where we have a lot of experience, or maybe this customer is having experience, but print on paper is different, or in vinyl or in banner. It's totally different when you need to print on textile. This is clear. Then the first thing is to offer to the potential customer all the knowledge he needs to understand where he wants to go. Sometimes seems to be very easy just to have the printer and then you put the t-shirt and then you print. But you need to have in consideration what kind of fabric are you using, what kind of ink you are going to use, what kind of rules you need to follow when you are designing, making the design before printing. Also, it's really, really important. Color management. I think it's also part of our responsibility as a manufacturer. At least in this panel, we are 3 manufacturers together, and I think it's part of our responsibility to teach the market in the right way. Finally, customer will choose what they want, but our responsibility is to teach, offer all the tools potential customer will need for growth in their own business. It's not easy, but also when you start to learn step by step, it's very fast for the printing company to understand what they need for the textile. Then it's not complicated, but they need to learn a little before.
Just before I hand it over to Neil and Oliver, there's another element in garment where you're printing light onto dark. So it's not just like textile printing. We have to have another layer of knowledge and understanding, particularly when working, as I say, with lightings, with a white base, with dischargings, with stuff like that. Neil, would you like to be the next one to... Quick. Which one would you like?
Actually, I think although we were saying about passing on knowledge, I think actually for people that want to go digital, conventional printers, shall we say, it's actually easier because printing onto signage and that where it's a lot more colour accurate and we're working a lot more with colour. Actually with textile, it's more about vibrant colour than accurate colour at times. So if you look at garments, most of them want bright, vibrant colours, punchy colours and things like that. So actually the education is not, it doesn't need to be as high as maybe some of the other for signage and for more accurate profiling. So the quickest way to get them is to what we've tried to do, and I'm sure my colleagues do exactly the same, is make the products easier, make them quicker. Don't worry about the colour, just make them and try and educate them in step by step, because a lot of some of the textiles don't have the knowledge, the colour knowledge that we do and as companies and things like that. So it's educating, making our products easier to use so they actually feel comfortable, and as time goes on they understand possibly more of what the product can do than when they first get it. They can quickly, I mean we can teach people to print t-shirts and print garments very quickly, and then over time we educate them to actually expand their knowledge and actually work into different areas and like we said earlier, show what the potential that there is there when they've actually learnt bit and step by step broaden their business.
Oliver.
Yeah, I find it amazing how much we three are all in agreement.
Good.
Looking at it from the distance, of course, printing on a garment is something that any digital printer could do. You have a substrate, you put it in a big machine, you push print, and then you get your result. Looking a little bit closer, of course, it's not so easy. Garments are not really made until now for being printed on, so you have really a lot of different ways to produce them, a lot of different qualities, a lot of different ways to protect them when they are shipped from Bangladesh or India over the ocean to here. Manufacturers add silicone oils or enzymes or all sorts of things to soften the surface. So even when you open a box of shirts and there is 100 shirts in it, you cannot rely on the 100 shirts being the same identical quality. So rather than showing users the settings and hoping that they will be able to successfully print, we need to educating them how they find the right settings. So we don't give them the fish. We need to give them the net, if that makes sense. We need to give them the tools. So education, application expertise in direct-to-garment printing is really more important than in any other area of digital print, I would say.
Okay, so moving on, because we don't have huge amounts of time, one of the aspects that I've noticed has influenced a lot in direct-to-garment, obviously the lack of waste and print to order, which I'll come on to in a minute. But the next question I'd like to ask is the environmental impact of being able to print digitally rather than using traditional analog methods. How much is that playing a part in the success of you being able to sell your systems? Shall we start with Encarna again, because she's...
Again, with me?
Okay, yeah, I give it a go.
Ladies first, or Oliver first? Who wants to
Yeah.
go first? Oliver
We
can
take
go
turns.
first.
I say.
Yeah.
Next question, Neil is the first one. So, in garment printing, the let's say difference in the environmental impact is even a little bit smaller than in roll-to-roll printing. But generally, it's fair to say that textile production is one of the most polluting industries in the world, and a lot of the water pollution in industrial processes is from textile manufacturing. Digital printing, of course, has a number of advantages here. You don't need to make screens. You save a lot of chemicals. You reduce the waste because you don't need a process to adjust the color or make the first 10, 20 prints in order to see if everything is all right. Digital printing means ideally you put a garment into your printer, and from the first print you have something that you can sell. I would not really recommend to drink our ink, and I would also not do it myself. But essentially, it's a water-based pigment formulation. It's non-toxic. It has Ecotex approvals. It's infant-safe, baby-safe. So you don't really produce a lot of waste. Of course, in a digital print system, there will always be kind of waste ink, which you collect in a bottle. So over a week of production, you will probably collect a few liters of waste ink. But again, it is mostly water with pigments and a few additives. So it has really nothing to do with some of the inks that you know from other processes like solvent or UV. Most of the garment printing inks are really, really harmless compared to what other inks contain.
Well, I wouldn't want to wear UV curable ink next to my skin, thank you. Not even a low migration one. Looking at Terence.
Just following on from what Oliver said, our inks are also water-based. We've also certified. I think the responsibility from us as manufacturers for customers, primarily cost is to keep the cost down is huge. When you're doing a small run with screen printing, you still have to make up a screen. The chemicals are harsh and things like that. But to keep the cost down to do individual shirts or 10 T-shirts, for example, you're only printing using the ink that's required. Waste is very minimal. But as companies, I think it's our responsibility to make them, and I think, especially for textile printing, because we can obviously use water-based inks, we've all taken it seriously, and that's why we've all got the certification to obviously, not just for the printing, but actually on the fabric, so it's not harmful for children and babies and things like that. So I like to think that although it's something that a customer should be aware of, I think the major players have all done their bit to achieve that for the customer, rather than which one is the best. Whereas if you look at, we take the signage, the solvent market, there are a wide range of solvent inks that vary in how harmful they are. But the textile, I think we've got to a stage that yes, we can improve. There will obviously be new certifications coming out that we'll all look to achieve. But at the moment, we're as good as we can be.
Encarna, your thoughts?
Okay, I have not too much to add to Neil and Olivier. Okay, but I think also it's important to think in terms of the space. When you work with traditional system, for sure, you have all the chemicals, all the process that you need to spend maybe more time, you need to repeat, you need to create new cylinders, or maybe you need to create new screens, new films. All of us, we know how much it costs when you need to repeat something in the traditional system and how easy it is to repeat something with the digital systems, okay? But also I think we need to think in terms of the people that is working with traditional system. Sometimes when we see on the TV special programs with some countries, it's like, wow, my God, how they can work in this way. Because in Europe, also companies working with traditional system, they are more or less clean company, or they are following the rules they must follow with analog system. But in certain countries, the safety for the workers are zero. Then it's also very important, not only how waste or how money we are losing, repeating, if we need to repeat a new screen, if we need to make a new test, also thinking that as much as possible digital, we go up, we are making easy the life for people in some countries where we only see on the TV from time to time. And also we can save money. We don't need a space to put in our stock the screens, the rolls, this kind of thing. At the end, we save a space. We can dedicate this to another kind of thing. Or this money we pay for the space is more profit for the company. I think I want also to think in this way when we talk about digital. Not only how much money I can save as a user of a digital printer machine, also how much money and how easier I am making the life for the others. Okay?
That's an interesting point about the space. It's one we haven't really sort of talked about much before, but obviously you haven't got the washdown either. You haven't got the health and safety people coming around to check where you're storing your inks, where your washdown room, the facilities are. Can you hear me all right, Oliver? And it's kind of an aspect. We talk a lot about the garment printing, but we don't talk so much about, it's not just changing the run dynamic to something being shorter. It's also, obviously, as you say, reducing the space. And it's also cutting down on the necessity for the local inspectorate to come
round. I think so.
That
you actually find it's actually cleaner as well. Not just environmentally for the inks and that. The actual working environment becomes a lot cleaner.
I think one argument there might be, though, yes, it makes the working environment much cleaner, but it also, you have to be much stricter if you're a print company, because you can't just generate a whole pile of T-shirts and say those don't come up to quality, therefore we can just throw them away, because you don't have that waste collateral that you would have before. I think, was it Oliver was telling me, somebody was mentioning a company in a country which is not renowned for having the cleanest premises, but they were having so many rejected digital garment prints, that they couldn't be used, so they were still generating waste. So while it's a lot cleaner and quicker and takes up less space, you have to be cleaner in your own working practices, or it won't pay off. Would that be a fair thing to say?
It is fair to say that, but again, that comes with the education, and actually, I think you find if we take for example screen printers, you generally find that when they actually do look to make the investment, they do actually sort of put a section off a corner of their factory to clean it up, and when they actually realise the potential profitability they get and things like that, it actually makes where they're going to make the money. They actually are prepared to make the investment, are prepared to keep it clean, because actually, and if I print 10 T-shirts, I'm getting paid for 10 T-shirts. If I screen print 100 T-shirts, I need to deduct all this for screen. So they're actually part of the education from us, but also the investment when they see how much return they will get for the lower volumes. Actually, it makes them more thoughtful about keeping the area clean.
I mean, obviously, Oliver, you're from a more industrial sort of background with what the market that Cornet sells into. Do you find it a problem when you're converting people to digital, that they do have to pay attention to the premises that they're using? Particularly now we're getting quite a lot of backshoring to different countries in Europe and...
Yeah, definitely. One thought that crossed my mind when you were talking about the space and everything was also inventory management of screens and films and all that sorts of stuff, and also of produced T-shirts, right? So when your break-even point is somewhere at 500, 1,000 shirts before your production really pays, you produce a lot of shirts, you put them on stock. Again, it's usually a piece of art or fashion or whatever. You might have shirts on stock that in the next year would not even sell anymore. So of course digital production has a huge advantage here, because it's really on demand, really fast time from the design to the print. So this whole problem of inventory management goes completely away. What you were referring to now, the backshoring and other things, again, I mean, in switching from screen printing to digital, maybe the difference is not even so bad. Screen printing carousel, I mean, it requires a hall, you need a number of staff, you need a number of infrastructure. In roll-to-roll, for example, it's way worse when you have additional processes in analog processes, or additional steps like steaming, washing, really polluting steps. And of course, digital has a huge advantage here because it's a clean, it's a calm process. I have customers sometimes coming to my booth who see the roll-to-roll system working, and they remember the times when they were working in textile production 20 years ago with some semi-rotative screen equipment, I don't know what, and they said, oh, is it running? I can't believe how silent it is, and this is such a nice and clean environment, and this is, people talk to you about it a lot. It's really a relatively simple, clean process that you can put in a mall, or yes, some people run direct-to-garment printers in malls, for example, right? This is clearly something that you cannot do with screen print. So with digital printing, the production technology moves closer to the point of sale, and of course that's really preferred by the big brands and everybody who's trying to sell.
Yeah, and I think while we're kind of on what you were just saying about moving the production close to point of sale, how much do you think online and even the sports shop in the high street, where you can go in and you can, while you wait, you can have your favorite garment produced? And this is, I think, quite pertinent to Roland, because a lot of yours is transfer rather than just print. But how much has the whole online community helped to drive the entire market for direct-to-garment? Do you think it's played a major role? Shall I start with you this time?
No problem. For sure, our experience directly printing on garment, on t-shirt, is not the same that for example, Olivier, they have dedicated machine for this kind of application. For direct printing, as a Roland, we don't have any solution today. We are working only on sublimation process or using transfer. Transfer is another way to decorate the shirt. It's not printing system, it's that you play with different kind of materials, thick material, not thick material, with color effect, different kind of tools you have, and then you combine, and you are going to decorate the t-shirt or the garment, not only for t-shirt, also for other kind of garment that people is using our machines. It's another way to have something, some draw over the garment. In terms of the percentage for us, of course, our main application for one part of our cutting machine is transfer. But not only what people think that is just to cut the name of my son and to put on the backside of the t-shirt, or to just to cut one number. You need to play, and again, we need to teach the potential customer. We know some experience for our customer that really with a very low investment, like a most simple cutting machine we have in our portfolio, they are selling with a huge added value their t-shirt, with a good profit as a unique things. Mixing, personalization, all the tools they have around them. When you say before, it's easy for the PSP to invest and to move to the printing garment, it's easier. Maybe it's necessary to know the way you need to start. With a very low level of investment, you can start to decorating. It's not printing, it's just decorating. But the next step will be maybe printing. But for us, percentage today is directly transfer with the imagination of the people that is using Roland.
And do you still do the rhinestones? So I bet you can't print rhinestones yet. But no, obviously I think a lot of sports garments where you are literally taking a standard garment and putting a name on it, and then charging a lot of money as somebody's strip. but to put a number and a name on, it's kind of wasted to print it digitally when you can stick it on with fabric, or do you not agree? But we're kind of going off the... I think there's a grey area, isn't there?
So for Epsom, we obviously have our direct-to-garment printer, but also we have transfer by sublimation. So especially where you're talking about sports apparel, the sublimation transfer onto polyester or polyester mixes is actually printing on paper and is actually even cheaper than having direct-to-garment. So some of the inks and the usage of inks, not that ink usage is huge on direct-to-garment anyway, but some of the printing onto paper and sublimating onto sportswear. We've actually put we have a smaller 44-inch machine. We've actually put that into an actual shop, and now they've actually printed it out in the shop with a small heat press, and that's how close we're getting now to customers actually doing things themselves. So as well as just having, like you say, numbers and letters on the back, where people are actually doing their design in a shop, their own unique design that's will personalise to them. Obviously, we'll base it on some various templates that will give them ideas, but it was literally, here's my design, I want that colour, I want to do it like this, I want it this large, print it out, take it to the bloke, it comes to the bloke in the counter with their receipt, he prints it out, heat press, and it's ready within minutes. The personalisation is moving so close to the customer, we're not even, although if we talk about the web is still huge and there's loads of online orders, but we're actually getting into shops now that actually people can just walk in, pick the shirt up that they've just designed themselves.
Yeah, it just kind of takes us away from the web thing, but the philosophy is still the same, whether you walk into a shop and do it or whether you buy it online. What it's actually removing is that long order process and the time you had to wait, and then, well, I'm sorry, but you've got to have 50. So I think
But also it's actually, like you say, you don't need to order 50. You get one design that you may spend 10 euros on, for example, so the cost is a lot less. And also you see it straight away and you can see it on screen, whereas sometimes you send it away and you get it and actually it's not exactly what you want. So you can actually toy saying, actually, I've looked at it, I've wasted probably some investment on one shirt rather than 50 shirts, but I can actually now realise that the image I put on there is actually too small, quickly enlarge it, get another one done. So, okay, you've maybe lost a little bit of money, but not the huge investment and the time that you could have done if you need to send it away.
Oliver.
Online business models also bring a lot of production benefits to the actual vendor. Again, you don't really need stock. You offer your products on the web or on Amazon like you had them in stock, like if they were there. And then when the order comes in, you just start producing them. Online business models, I think, enable a completely different kind of business models. We have some customers that are, let's say, screening the internet for terms and trends and designs. When you have the next episode of Breaking Bad on air, people will order Heisenberg shirts or I don't know what. And then these guys are really quick, make a design that's really cool, a design that fits the demand. They are switching the offerings in their shops. And whenever the order comes in, they start producing. So I think it's a really, really efficient way to get to the customer exactly what's needed. I think online models, indirect to garment, are probably the most direct way to satisfy a customer's demands. So this is really interesting. A lot of new business we see right now from the e-commerce and online printing sector.
Just as an aside, and it doesn't really affect manufacturers, but it was a discussion we had in the Sign Tech time earlier, was the only downside of online and web to print is ownership of some of the logos that people are using and some of the graphics that people are using illegally. Now, you can't do anything about that. All you can do is because you're the manufacturers. But it was an interesting argument that came up. And that is the downside, I think, probably of encouraging online ordering or even taking a drawing into a shop and saying, can I have a picture of Mickey Mouse? The answer is no. And the same way you can't have a picture of the Rolls-Royce logo. No. But that's unfortunately the loose side of web ordering. Has anybody got anything else they'd like to add? Because I think we're kind of running out of time.
Just a few comments for me, just a wrap up. I think all of us, we think that textile is a huge opportunity for all of us in the market, bigger than the signage application we have around, because textile is huge compared. There are many kind of application inside. As a manufacturers, again, I want to reinforce that it's our responsibility to teach the people, to teach the market, explain where we are going to develop, where tools we are going, what kind of tool we are going to offer to the potential customer, teach them, and then finally customer will choose the right option. Here we have 3 different manufacturers with 3 different kind of solutions, but there is market for all of us, and then finally end user will choose what they need. But it's our responsibility to explain what we can do with our machine, with our products, the new trends in the market, not only thinking in selling our product, also teach the market, because we are in the very early stage. Seems that all the people knows a lot about textile, but when you go deeply inside in the conversation, then you see that still is necessary to offer more knowledge, not only the products. This is my last comment.
Have you got a comment, Neil? Lots of comments. Lots of comments.
I think it's testament to the fact that you have us 3 sitting here talking about, spending an hour talking about textile, how big it's become at FESPA, just goes to show that us as big manufacturers are how seriously we're taking this.
In fact, we're only talking about garment, as there's only one section.
Yeah, and if you go around FESPA now, it was mainly predominantly years ago signage and paper and that, and now it's governed by garment, textile and things like that. So it's testament to the fact that as manufacturers, it's a big growth area, as we've all seen, and that's where one of our key areas. I assume from all of us that we'll be looking to in the future, looking for future developments, and we still take about, let's say, with the education, because it's an area where the understanding of colour and the production methods and being digital, there's so much growth because there's so many current screen printers or textile printers that are doing analog still that would look to invest in future. So when it gets cheaper and easier, as it obviously will, it will be ongoing and more growth every year.
Oliver, just to round off.
I think it's really interesting to see how the 3 of us are in line. Actually, it's a bit weird, I think. Environmental impact, important topic. Educating the customers, important topic. Online business models, important topic. So I think it's a testament to a market that's really maturing, to people finding their business models, to trends developing. And I think we are at a really exciting point in that segment in the industry. Not sure how many of you are following Kornit and its history, but we as a company, we've just gone public at Nasdaq in the first week of April, which also means that the company obviously has crossed certain revenue thresholds. So it's a really dynamic, exciting segment to be in, and it's great to be part of that.
Okay, well, I think our hour is up, just about, isn't it? And actually, it is nice that we can get 3 manufacturers sitting in a row, and I haven't got any scratches on me at all. It's great. Nobody hit me. I'm not damaged. I don't know if anybody could hear what we were saying, it's been a bit peculiar having this microphone thing. But I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up now. But I hope you did hear it. And I'd like to thank Oliver and Neil and then Karna for joining in. And I think it was quite a good discussion. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.